What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. I don't know why the camera keeps dropping. I want it to be up a little bit, just like that. Come on, can you stay there? Yeah, no. Okay, you want to go down, don't you? All right, we're going to talk about Bitcoin today. Hit that like button, subscribe. Let's get into it, okay? So here we are sitting at about 103.6K right now. Okay, 106.3K right now. We're up 9.6% this week so far. And looking, we don't know yet. We got a day and 20 hours left. But we're looking to have the highest daily and weekly close, hopefully, that we've ever seen in Bitcoin's history. All we need to do is essentially close right at that line, which is about 0.75% higher than the current price is now. So if we can move up a little bit more than 1% by the end of this week in the next day and 20 hours. I don't know if that's too much to ask for, but if we can do that, we will have the highest weekly close ever in history. And generally, when you get a higher weekly close like that, that does initiate a chain of events that leads us to higher targets and thus new all-time highs as well on top of that. So, I mean, you look at it here, for example, this was the all-time high on a weekly closing basis for a very long time. That was right there, right? For months. You broke above it here. Did it stop there or did it keep going? You know what I mean? Let's do it again. Here we were, weekly closing high right there. And to be fair, you did stop relatively immediately afterwards, but you didn't stop that week, right? You didn't stop that week right when you broke it. And here, you did actually break through it a lot. You didn't break through it like just barely, right? So, but to be fair, you also had an immaculate run coming up into it, right? You weren't consolidating or anything like that, so. But you did still move the next week afterwards after breaking out, right? It wasn't the moment you broke out that you turned around. It was you kept going higher. Even to a similar degree here with like lower weekly closes, right? You close below that week, and I don't know about you guys, but it seems like before that week, that was like half the bear cycle. The other half, that's where the other half started, but that's where the big drops started, was once we closed below here, right? So just saying again, an initiation of these weekly closes, the initiation of a move tends to happen right at this area. So the area that we're looking for is 104.4K. We're at 103.5K now. It's about less than 1% ahead, right? We're looking at the weekly RSI. We do look postured, poised, ready for some noise to go up to the upside, right? I do compare this, what we're doing in the RSI here, moved up, found support right here, and then move up again, just like we did here, moved all the way up, came down, found support right here. If you actually look, right, from the low point to this low point here and this low point here are the same low points that we had on this move up, and this low point here, it's the same low point that we have here. It's a little bit lower this time around, but tomato, whatever. Finding support in the 60 after getting overbought, finding support right here at the 60 area, and then getting back overbought almost always leads to a very bullish kind of procedure afterwards. So I suspect, like a lot of people do, I didn't mean to burp, man. I'm sorry, it just happened. I don't even know how hearable that was, but woo, that one came out of nowhere. I would expect that this move here that we're about to see is going to be a continuation of this initial breakout of this consolidation phase, right? You moved up here, consolidated, moved up here. This is like all part of the same move to a certain degree, right? Just like this here, when you consolidated for a long time, when you broke out, this was all one move, but you had a little pause in between. I think this is our pause in between, right? This is our big move. That was our big move. Breakout, pause in between, breakout, pause in between. Now, I'm not the only person who's identified this, right? I personally feel like I was one of the first people, one of the early people to identify it, right? It's not that hard to identify. Anybody with eyes can identify it. But there have been more, especially this week. I've heard more people, especially bigger YouTube accounts, and the bigger the account, the more ears hear it, the more eyes see it. A lot of people are aware of this comparison. So there are a lot of people who are aware of the capabilities that this next move might do, just like this, right? From a low to a high here, low to high. If I put this at the low here of this move, from a low, if I can get it, come on, low to the high, it's basically the same exact move both times, right? And if you don't like that high as the move, I personally don't. I actually think it should be this high. Even at a 78.8% versus a 91%, 71.8 versus 91% is still very close. So if people are expecting, and I would assume too, actually, if we're looking at this move from a low to a high, I think that's the move. That's 78% from a low to a high here, and that's the end of that move. That's 91%. It actually got bigger I think a lot of people are going to assume that this next move that we have is going to be the same size as this. They're not going to notice that this move got bigger. And then on top of that, everybody identifying or expecting the same kind of movements as we had last time and projecting it here, all that does, at least in my opinion, because I'm a contrarian at heart and in my soul, like literally ever since. If you don't know what contrarianism is, first off, learn how to pronounce it. Second off, look it up. Contrarianism, it might help you a lot whenever it comes to life, man, really to life. But the contrarian in me hears everybody talking about this target, and that tells me one of two things. Or a move like this, reciprocated or similar to the move that we just saw up into this area, it tells me one of two things. Either we're not going to hit it, which would suck, or we're going to blast through it. We're not going to stop there. We're going to go significantly higher. Maybe not crazy significantly higher, but if we're talking about areas around 130 to 150, I would think 170 to 180 might be where we go, something like that. And I have reasons for that as well. Let's get out of this weekly time frame and look at a daily time frame. Actually, we'll keep it on the weekly real quick. I'll just talk about my reasons why I expect we're going to go above 140, right? Come, give me that. There we go. Low to the high. So our next target, just based off this fib here, the way it's lined up, the next target is 123. The target after that's 141. I feel like we will, by the end of the month of January, by the end of this month, we will be at this 2272 and above it. I think we will be above 123. So then the next target from there would be about 141K, okay? Once you break above that, the next target is more of a zone. It's not a specific line. It'd be the 3113 and the 2886, and that lines up at about 160 to 175K, somewhere in that area. Could you go higher? Sure. Could you fall shorter? Sure. But this would be like the target zone if you were to break above the 2618, which again, that's at about 142,000. So if you break above that, that's how we know it's time to start considering this. Okay, so if we get a wick above 142K, that it's not enough to consider, but if we get a day or a week to close above 142K, likely we're not stopping until at least about 160K or higher would be my expectations. Okay, now here's where it's cool, is this high to low, the fib level up here at 173 lines up right there pretty well. If we take now the last bull cycle high to the bear cycle low, beginning and end of the bear cycle move here, and we project out, you can see that the 1618, which is the golden ratio, the 1618 is at that same exact line. It's at that same exact line. You only hit your 3113 normally in strong endeavors, in strong movements. Okay. I don't know everything. I'm not a pro. I could be wrong. But this move looks strong to me, and I would identify it not just off of appearances, but off the fibs as well. Whenever you move up and you disregard your golden ratio and you just move right on up to the 1886, that is nothing but a strong move. And if the expectation is like last time, which a lot of people don't connect these dots, but if it is like last time, the second move was actually stronger than the first move. Where a lot of people, I feel like the dots they're connecting is that they're similar, so they're connecting the dots for a similar move. I think if we're already showing that this move is strong and expecting it to be like last time, which people aren't connecting the dots that it could be stronger instead of similar, and although stronger would be similar to last move, right? But the way they're connecting it is these two are similar, so they're expecting to be similar here. If it were similar moves, we'd expect to land somewhere between about around 140 to 150K, something like that, right? But I would assume we carry on higher. We move up to 174K. I don't really know. I feel like I had a point that I was going with that, but oh yeah, we're in the midst of a strong move now. You generally only hit these targets, the 2886 to the 3113. You only hit those targets in the midst of strong moves, and I think we are breaking above the golden ratio, consolidating and finding support on it week after week, time and time again. Very strong move. The 2618 is the minimum target now. The 3113 is the maximum target. So minimum at the end of February, 142, maximum 173, and I don't like this. I really like this. If we don't even hit 142, maybe we stop at 123 to 130 by the end of February, but I don't see that happening. That would concern me, actually. But anyways, guys, I got nothing else for you. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. If you're wondering if it's a good time to get into Bitcoin or not, probably. The inauguration is on Monday. And damn it, I said I was done with the video, but I actually wanted to talk about this. If the inauguration, and don't mind this, I know it looks funny. It's normally nighttime, so you can't really see that, but it's snowing. So it's like bright over there for some reason. I mean, not for some reason. There's clouds in the sky. It looks brighter on the camera than it does, but I mean, it's still pretty bright, but a lot of snow. The inauguration's on Monday. Okay, the inauguration's on Monday. A lot of people are expecting that Trump will announce, or he will promote an executive order that will announce a Bitcoin strategic reserve on day one. Imagine if all those expectations, all those hopes and dreams don't come true. Imagine if he doesn't sign an executive order on day one for that strategic reserve. People would freak out. People would panic. They'd sell. They might freak out and think that this means that the bull market isn't on. And then they might, a day later, come to their senses and realize, wait, there's no Bitcoin strategic reserve, but Bitcoin was going to $1 million with or without that. Maybe not in this cycle, but in time. It's destiny, right? It is stationary. It's only 21 million tokens. The dollar is infinitely inflatable. It's math. It's only going to go up. With or without your strategic reserve, Donald Trump, we're going to see higher prices, okay? So when rationality comes in that, oh, this is the same thing fundamentally, we don't need the strategic reserve, the strategic reserve needs Bitcoin, oh, when that comes around, that shakeout will probably be done. We'll probably move up higher. And I'm only saying that. I am, I guess, assuming that Trump does not announce an executive order to announce a strategic Bitcoin reserve on day one. That's my assumption, only because I feel like most people are assuming the opposite, that he will sign that in. I was assuming that he would for a while, but it seems like everybody just is treating it like it is going to happen, and I've seen this happen too many times, man. When people treat things like it is going to happen before it happens, it normally doesn't happen. That doesn't mean that it can't. That doesn't mean that it's impossible to happen. It could happen. And by it, I mean Trump announcing or signing an executive order day one that there's a Bitcoin strategic reserve. If we get that, guys, things are going to be crazy bullish. But even if we don't, we'll have a day, maybe like a week at the most, of a shakeout at the most. And then we'll recover, because we'll remember that everything fundamental about crypto is still the same. That we have, with or without that executive order, the most bullish administration that's been crypto-friendly ever in the history of the United States, in the history of crypto, that's ever existed. It's happening right now. And people will remember that, right? And it doesn't matter, right? Some people have their theories. They're like, no, it matters, because if Trump doesn't do this on day one, then that means he's not fulfilling his promises. And how do we know that he's going to fulfill his other promises if he doesn't fulfill this one? You guys, people say things to get elected. It's the truth. It happens. Even if you like Donald Trump or you don't like Donald Trump, people say things to get elected. Right? If you like Kamala or you don't like Kamala, they both just said things to get elected. It's what they do. You can call it smart, you can call it conniving, but that's just the name of the game in politics. Okay? If you believe every single word they say is going to come true, whenever the last time Trump was elected, not everything he said came true, right? He got started on some things, but not everything he said came true. He promised a lot of things. He initiated some of those promises, but didn't hold up all of them, right? Who's to say that same thing can't happen now? But that doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. So this last part of the video, I wish I started the video with this, but because I think it is important to remember or consider. And I'll probably talk about this every day until the inauguration happens anyway, so I guess it's irrelevant. But be prepared for the unexpected to happen. And even if it happens, I promise you, the bull cycle is still on. Even if Trump does not announce an executive order to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve on day one, the bull market is still on. It's still happening. Bitcoin's still going to be worth more than $500,000 by the end of the cycle, and that's where I'll leave it. So hit the like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.